Hi everyone, I'm Needlecraft Danny. This is flosstube number 154. And I'm sorry I am a day late. Yesterday was super busy. Basically, I thought I would not get any stitching done or anything like that, especially not a video. But I did get some stitching done. I started at 10 p.m. with some stitching. So not super much of progress and definitely not a video because definitely no daylight, and I have a lamp over there, but it's not great, and I prefer to just do my videos in daylight, so you can actually see all the colors and stuff. So I am here today. As always, I have my whips, everything I stitched on over the last week, and what little of plans I have, not a lot today. And then I had a question regarding backstitching, so I will show that in the end, and also my knitting as I promised last time. So let's get started. Last Monday, as I was doing my video, I was in the midst of a rotation on kabeljau. I still needed about 300 stitches to finish my 1000 stitch count goal. And I did that. So let me show you what kabeljau is going to look like when it's done. That's going to be that. I charted that one myself, and I'm stitching it for my grandpa. And in the end, when all of the fish itself is done, I'm going to put my grandpa's details over here, and I'm still thinking about putting the poem on the same piece of fabric as well. Maybe poem down here and his details in here or something like that. I'm going to figure that out when I'm closer to finishing the fish itself, and I really need to figure it out. So here's a picture of what it looked like last time. And this is where I got to. This is where I got to. I continued stitching up to the top, reached the top, and am now stitching further down. There are a few more rows missing, and then I will reach the head of the fish, and then I can start putting in those different lines in the fin itself. So I'm up in this fin down here. I'm close to reaching that part, and when I'm done with that, I will do all of those lines. So yeah, that's that. This is stitched on a 55 count fabric I got from Kaylee. She's going to be linked down below. Kaylee 10 stitch here on Flosstube, and I think on Instagram as well. And this is her shop. And yeah, as I said, it's a 55 count. Sorry. I'm stitching 1/2 for crosses with DMC color variations 4150, and the needleminder is as well from Katie. So a bit more than 1000 stitches done on this one now. It was a new start last week, the week before last, and I'm just very happy with what 1000 stitches got me. So yeah, happy with that. And then I moved to the last two pieces of my rotation where I hadn't, on which I hadn't stitched yet for the rotation. And those two, last Monday, there were two of those projects missing, and I go with a random order. So with you on camera, I chose which one will be first. And the one that got chosen was Mini Katie and Cruncher, charted by Havlin of Designs. The artwork is by Hannah Lynn, and I show a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. So as I said, I did one of those columns. They actually have 1100 stitches instead of the 1000 I normally want to do on my projects. But I had already started with those 1100 stitches wide columns before I decided on my rotation with 1000 stitches. So I decided to just go with it, and on this project do 100 stitches more. On most projects, basically on all of the projects, I don't stop at exactly 1000. I finish the thread I have on my needle anyways. And And with this project, I always do the black last in the column. So finishing my thread normally gets me then to way more than 1,000 anyways. So yeah, I'm good with doing 1,100 on this one. Yeah, this is stitched on a 25 count even weave. I'm stitching 2 over 110 stitch. Needleminder is from Denka Designs, and it looks amazing. I'm very happy with her. Can't wait to do more over here and get further into the shark. So yeah, very happy about that. There's one more of those locks of hair, so that's the one I started here. We'll get into the pink part, reddish pink part, soonish. So that's something I can wait for as well. Yeah, that's Mini Kating Crochet. And this is the bottom of the page, so I have a lot of leftover fabric on here. But that's fine. I'm just going to finish the project and then cut the fabric down. Yeah. It wasn't that much fabric that I thought I would have a project soonish that I would want to start on that. And therefore I was fine with having it bound in this project at the moment. Because she will soonish be finished. I think I'm close to 40% now. It's still going to take me a few years. But I'm getting closer and closer to finishing her. So, and I don't have any specific projects planned where I need 25 count even. So yeah, that's that. And then the last project in my rotation was another Heaven on Earth Designs. This is Super Size Max Color Once Upon a Fairy Tale. The artwork is by Amy Stewart, and as I said, charted by Heaven on Earth Designs. I'm stitching in blocks of 10 by 10 on the diagonal and over the first shelf first, and I'm about here. So let me show a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. So as I said, I stitched in 10 by 10 blocks on the diagonal, and I think I started in this block here and then did 10 blocks, which finished off the diagonal exactly, and got me my 1,000 stitches. So what did I do in this diagonal? Nothing too exciting, honestly. I did do a bit more in this knight, so a bit more onto the left shoulder, a bit more in his breastplate, and then the dark side on between the knight and the wall. I finished more of the wall and more of that instrument, I think it is. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. Then more background. I finished off the stone, which means I did a lot of background and a few stitches in that stone over here. A bit more of the green, but mostly I just parked those threads in the next block, and yeah, did one more block down here in the shelf. So nothing too exciting, a lot of background basically. So I can't wait to start back on this with the next diagonal, because I think there will be a few more things coming up in the next diagonal, which will be a bit more exciting than this one was. As I said, mostly background. It is stitched on a 40 count Newcastle linen. I'm stitching 1 over 110 stitch. Needleminder is from Lakeside Needlecraft. Yeah, and this is still not even close to 4% done. I'm at 3.6%, I think. It takes a lot of time to stitch on this one and get progress on this one. I have now more than 26,000 stitches done, and as I said, not even 4%. But it looks amazing. So yeah, that's that. And then I finished with Super Size Max Color Once Upon a Fairy Tale on Friday, which meant I had one more day left to stitch on before my Focus on a Finish Sunday started. So I got started with the first of my Repco goals. For Repco this year, I have not put my year-end goals on the board because I don't have any year-end goals. So instead, I put some challenges for myself. So this week, the first square that was chosen were 500 stitches in green. And for that, I decided to go with my raspberries. So I'm holding this page up a little bit longer because basically I can't pronounce anything up here. But if you go to this website down here, you can put the website on English. You can search for raspberries to get this exact project, which will also be linked down below in the description box, as are all my projects where I can find a link. If you search on the website, search for this name over here, you will find a lot of similar patterns than this one. There are, just a lot of different fruits and vegetables, and they all look very amazing. I'm still thinking about getting a few more for myself because I love them and they turn out amazing. So I did not finish my 500 stitches in green on Saturday. So yesterday, as I said, I started stitching late in the evening, but I managed to finish my goal for that. And also this is my travel stitching. So I took it with me a few times when I was out of the house, and I actually managed to get a lot of progress. I knew that with my 500 stitches in green, I wanted to finish those leaves up here and do as much backstitching as possible. So while being away for my travel stitching, I didn't stitch on everything but green, but I stitched on colors that were either touching or very close to the backstitching threads in where I wanted to do those. So I did a lot of those raspberries up here and a bit more of those beige, grays, browns that are kind of the background colors. So let me show a picture of what it looked like last time here. And as I said, I did a lot. I'm so happy. So let me go through what exactly I did. I did finish those raspberries. Well, those 3 raspberries are finished completely. With my leftover thread, I went into that raspberry and did a bit more progress on there as well. I finished off this raspberry except for one single stitch that's still missing. That's going to be that darkest brown. So I'm going to do that one soonish when I do all the back stitching in here as well. Because this motif is also done except for the back stitching. And then I moved in here to start with that motif over here. For my 500 stitches in green, I finished those 2 leaves. I finished the stems of this raspberry and this raspberry, and I finished the back stitching in here, 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 and around those leaves, which looks amazing. I still had quite a bit of stitching to do in the green, so I went down here and started in on that leaf. And yesterday, late at evening, I think I needed another 50 stitches or something like that. And I realized I could backstitch this side, so I did that and then finished the thread in here as well. And yeah, that's now done. That side of the leaf is done as well, and I just need basically all the rest. This chart basically has 4 pages. And there's one big full page down here. Then there's a partial page, which is more or less full page over here, and 2 partial pages on top. And that partial page up here, so page number, well, they call it number 3. For me, it's page number 1. So that's completely finished with all the backstitching and everything. That next page over here, for me, page 2, is very close to finishing. There's just those few stitches above my nail that are still missing, which is the motif I have now started over here. So next time I stitch on this one, when I don't have a specific color to stitch on, I will stitch on this motif over here to hopefully finish that and finish the page up here. Because when I sit in my stitching spot, I basically put my pattern over here. And I have a musician stand, I think it's called, that I still had left over. And I put my pattern up there. And 4 pages, just not possible to put up there. So while I was still stitching on 4 pages, I had to switch a lot between those pages. And with 4 pages, that was really annoying. 3 pages is stretching it, but it should be possible. But 2 pages would be so amazing because I can just both put them there, and yeah, the color key is on the partial page down here as well. So I would not have to worry about anything. That would be so amazing to get down to 2 pages on this one. And it also means I made a lot of progress, and considering this was a start on the 2nd of January this year. So yeah, it looks good. This is stitched on the fabric that came with the kit. It is a linen, I think it is 28 count, and I'm stitching completely as indicated in the chart. At first I thought about doing it 1/1, but the backstitching is sometimes going in between stitches. So 1 stitch is over 2 threads, and with the backstitching you have to go over 1 thread from time to time. So I decided against that. So now it is stitched with 1 or 2 strands over 2 full cross, or 1 strand over 2 half stitch, because there, especially in those brownish areas, there are quite a few of half stitches in there as well. The needleminder is from Caterpillar Cross Stitch, and yeah, it looks so amazing. I can't wait to have this finished and up on my wall, because I want this to go into my kitchen. Yeah, it looks amazing. So that's that. First Repco goal for February is done. Considering it's already 21st of February, I really have to get going. And I'm already thinking about March, but we'll talk about that. Let's talk about March. Next Monday will be 28th of February or something, or 27th of February. I'm not sure. The Monday. So I will have time to talk about my March goals then, because so far I don't know which Repco squares will be called for March. But I think in March I want to do my Repco goals earlier than I did in January and February, because both those months I was kind of late in the month with doing those. So I think for March I want to do them soonish. My start will be on the 21st of March, which I think is the beginning of spring. So yeah, something like that. Okay, now Sunday. Sunday was focused on the finish Sunday, and I stitched on the last project I stitched on since I saw you last. And that project was Mini Cinderella, charted by Heaven of Designs. Artwork is by Alexandra Daw. This is going to be the finished piece. And I want to finish this year, as soon as possible, actually. So, yeah, it does come out quite often for focus on a finished Sunday. And it did so on Sunday as well. So let me show a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. So on this one, I managed 3 lengths of floss. The first one, or with this one, I go through all the pages, pick the highest symbol up, top to bottom, left to right, that's not yet stitched, stitch 1 length of thread, and then I move on to the next page, and the next page, and so on, until I'm through with all the 7 pages I have not yet finished, and then I restart in the beginning. So pages 1 through 5 are already done. So I started on page 6, I got a gray, and I think I did a lot in this area over here. And pages 7 and 8 both had the same color as the highest stitch up. So I did a lot of an off-white in here, moved down here, finished it off to the bottom of the design. And then I came back in, did a lot of confetti stitches in here, and moved up into her arm for the last few of those stitches. So probably nothing you can really see, but yeah, the gray at least is kind of visible. This is stitched on a 28 count, a light blue even weave. I'm stitching 1/1 4 crosses. The needleminder is from Repco Designs. And yeah, I really wanted to get 1 more length of thread done, but it was way too late and I needed to go to bed. So now I am at 10,011 stitches still missing. I really wanted to get below that 10,000 stitch mark, but I did not get there. So I will do that today because she is the project I chose for my second Repco goal, 1,000 stitches on a fancy lady. So today I'm going to start stitching on her to do at least 1,000 stitches. Going to finish my thread once again, and therefore I probably will end with less than 9,000 stitches to go, which is very nice. Yeah, so closer and closer to a finish. Other goals. Whenever my 1,000 stitches on Mini Cinderella are done, I'm going to get restarted with my rotation because I have now stitched on all of my projects at least one time for my rotation. And now I'm restarting it. And basically all of my projects are on little pieces of papers. And those are in one box. And I'm going to randomly pull one out and start stitching on that until I reach 1,000 stitches. And then I move on to the next one. And that's going to happen whenever I'm done with Mini Cinderella. So I have no idea what that's going to be. You have no idea. And next week you're going to be surprised. And that you see what project got chosen next week. On Sunday, once again, focus on a finish Sunday. I'm going back to Mini Cinderella because I really want to finish that. Yeah, so that's all the stitching. 2 weeks ago, for one of my videos, it wasn't the video from 2 weeks ago, but about 2 weeks ago, I got a comment asking how I do my backstitching. And the person asking was asking in regards to the finish I had on the video. She asked that question, and that was Cinderella Rags to Riches by John Elliott. So basically, if you buy this pattern, Cinderella Rags to Riches, you get two different charts. You get Cinderella in Rags and Cinderella in Riches, and you can combine them on in the window or in the middle basically, and that's what I did. I stitched it on a 28 count casual linen in the color Fog by Pictures Plus, and I finished it sometime in December 2022, so 3 months ago, something like that. And basically she asked how I do my backstitching, if I go into every hole or if I skip and do long stitches. It totally depends. So up here, those stars, those are long stitches. With stuff like that on her dress or in her arm, stuff like that, it actually depends how I do it. So here, following the dress completely, I went not in every hole, but in every second because I was stitching over two. But with every cross, I did one back stitch. Stuff like on her arm, probably this one is better to show. There were a lot of time where I had to go like one stitch over and 3 stitches down. Then I'm not going over 2 threads or anything like that. I'm just going one thread over, 3 stitches down, and just stitch that. So there are a few, I'm not sure how good you can actually see that on camera, but there are a few longer stitches in here, just because I did not want to stitch in the middle of a thread of fabric or something like that. So whenever it is something like 2 stitches over, 3 stitches down, stuff like that, I do kind of long stitches. If I can go in every hole, I will. So yeah, I hope you understood what I mean. If you have any more questions, just leave it down below. I'm just not sure if there's anywhere where I can show it better, maybe here. So on this pumpkin, for example, I'm not sure. In real life you can see it, but down here, I went in here, then I did a long stitch up here, and then 2 small stitches once again because it was possible. Up here as well. 2 small stitches, 2 long stitches. Just because with that first one, it was 1 stitch over, 3 stitches up. And the second one was 3 stitches up, 2 stitches over. So it wasn't really possible to anchor the thread anywhere else without piercing my stitches. So yeah, that's what I do. As I said, I hope you can understand what I mean. And you can see what I mean. I'm really sorry, it just did not really come out on camera as I hoped it would. But if you have any more questions, just leave them below. I will try to answer. And yeah, that's that. Now, let's move to knitting. Last time I showed my knitting, it was either the last update for 2022 or my first update for 2023. And I was stitching on a shawl, and I was kind of close to being done. And the next time I stitched on it, or the next time I worked on it, my needle fell out, the stitches fell, and with the way the pattern is or was, I was not able to save it. So I had to scrap it all. I was bummed. I put the needle back in on the few stitches I could save and threw it in my bag and just left it for, I think, about 1.5 or 2 weeks. And then I knew I had a longer break at work. And I decided to use that time and start rewinding my thread. Great job, great job. I love it. Super bummed. Some colleagues sat around me and watched me and were like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, I have to scrap it. It didn't work out. Oh no! And when I was finally done, I think it took me definitely more than half an hour. I'm not sure exactly how long. I did not want to watch the clock. A few of them were saying, like, I don't want to see that ever again. Yeah, don't want to do it ever again. So I think that evening when I came home, I decided I need a new knitting project. I think I have 1 or 2 already started, but it would be hard to restart that and find my way into it again. So for the moment, I decided to leave that and not do that. And do another shawl, because those are mostly easy and I can take them with me to work. And I tried to start one and it did not work. I tried for over an hour. The most I got were 3 rows or 4 rows, and I scrapped it every time. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going back to the one I had started because I really liked the pattern and it was super easy to stitch or to knit. So I'm going back to that one, restarting it. The way it was indicated in the pattern, you had to do 100 stitches wide, and for me that was a little bit too wide, so I decided, you know what, I'm going with between 60 and 80. I'll figure out how much thread I gave myself to do the cast on, and therefore decide how many stitches I do. In the end, I made it 80 stitches wide, and yeah. So basically it is a shawl out of this book. Yeah, for all the Germans out there. And it is the one called Elin. And I went with the called for yarn, which is the same yarn I did the first try, but in a different color, because I also knew the first try it was too white for me. It wasn't a color I would ever wear because it was very yellow, and that does not work with my skin tone. So you know what? I'm going to do it once again. This time the way I want. So this is the yarn I'm using. There's another stuff here. I think I'm using needles 4mm or something like that. And this is the colorway. So that would actually work for me. I think would work quite good for me. So as I said, I did only 80 stitches wide and restarted it. This is the pattern. Yeah, there's a mistake. Let's go over here. So this is the other side. Yeah, I really like the way it looks. The day I realized I had a mistake, I was talking to Nina Hobbyside. I'm going to link her down below as well. She has a channel here on YouTube. She does some stitching and knitting, and she just watched a video where I showed my knitting and said to be careful, to don't fall into a rabbit hole with the knitting. And I was like, yeah, not going to happen today. My needle fell out and I have to scrap everything. So we talked for a bit and she told me, do a lifeline. I was like, of course. So I put a lifeline in here. So next time my needle slips out, I will actually be able to save this project. Yeah, so it is a color changing yarn. So every time the color changes, I'm going to put the lifeline up there. So I know I don't have to count any rows or anything like that. I just know where to put the line in. And yeah, so that's my knitting. Not as far along as I was, but at least I have another start. And yeah, over the last week, I did a lot of stitching actually at work because I really wanted to get my raspberries along. So we'll see how much knitting or stitching I do over the next few weeks. Whatever I'm in the mood for. I always have knitting, crochet, and stitching with me whenever I'm out. Not necessarily just for work, but when my car is in the garage or stuff like that, where I know I have a little bit of time, of waiting time, and have to keep myself busy and don't want to look just at my phone. That's when I take everything with me. So yeah, that's that. That's my video. I hope you enjoyed. As I said, if you have any questions, just leave them below. I will try to answer as good as possible. And yeah, sorry, I'm a day late. As I said, just didn't work out yesterday. Next time I try to be on time again. So see you next Monday. Bye.